conference. They're talking about the situation in Moree with the floods. Take a listen in.
Some days yet.
How are evacuations going? Are any people being able to return to homes yet, or what numbers are we looking at?
Yeah, we're still looking at increasing amount of evacuations. We saw some more in the early hours of this morning. However, we had crews on site immediately to assist those people. The evacuation centre is still operating and being managed by the Emergency Operations Centre in Moree, and that's going quite well.
Are most people staying with family or friends? Have you had any overnight stays at the evacuation centre?
Yeah, most people are staying with family and friends or alternate arrangements. We do have accommodation supplied and also staying at the evac centre itself.
How many rescues have you had any overnight?
Yeah, we've had about 16 flood rescues overnight. These amounted to, once again, people driving into flood waters that they shouldn't have, or people starting to see the waters rise quickly around their houses. So we've had them action quite promptly.
Are there any areas or communities of concern today?
So we're focusing, not only are we just focusing on the Moree, we also put some crews into Boggabilla and keeping an eye on the Boggabilla and Toomla communities. We've got support from Queensland Fire and Emergency Services in the flood rescue capability, and also the State Emergency Service volunteers and Rural Fire Service volunteers, just keeping a proactive approach up that area.
Can you tell yet how much damage there's been to homes or businesses in Moree?
We can't estimate the exact damage as yet. We're still in the peak, so as it's still cooling, but once it reaches about 9 metres, that's when we start deploying the rapid damage impact assessment teams.
Have you heard, I guess, just from any locals, the heights within their homes, knee height, waist height, something like that?
Yeah, I can't comment on the exact height. We have had several homes, we have had many homes that have had overflow flooding occur.
Saying it's reached the peak, how long do you think it will kind of linger around Moree?
Yeah, so the information we're receiving at this point in time is about 4 days. We'll start to recede. I'm guessing we'll start to see it recede into the weekend. We just can't put an exact figure on it at this point.
Huge task for your crews. How are they coping?
Yeah, our crews are doing immensely well. It's a very, very big task. Our resources are extremely strapped across the state. We've got magnificent support from the Rural Fire Service and Fire and Rescue and other supporting government agencies to help combat this incident.
You said you've got some special services and resources. What are you doing for the community, like deliveries?
So the SES has formulated a resupply plan. So essentially the members of the community that are isolated and will be isolated for some time, they're encouraged to call 132 500, pass on what information they have and what they need. And we have a number of aerial assets, including cargo helicopters, now based at Moree Airport to facilitate that.
We've had a lot from cropping farmers with obviously their crops going under. Have you had much from the livestock front? How farmers are going?
We're working with our local land and animal ag services. They're working with those farmers at this point in time. So we think it's, we've been working with local land services, and they're concentrating on the rural and the farmers to identify any issues they may have.
Awful circumstances down in Sydney and southern Queensland with 2 lives lost in the last 24 hours. I guess, does that play into your pleas for people to keep out of floodwaters?
Yes, that's right. We've seen 2 lives lost in this incident. It's very dramatic. We've seen 2 lives lost. It's a very serious incident for someone to go and drive into the floodwaters, whether they did or intended to or not. We have not seen any lives lost or any significant harm in the Moree area at this point in time. We are encouraging people to adhere to any warnings and advice given by the emergency services.
Fair bit of water in Tamworth yesterday didn't cause too much damage, but it is coming down now. So what's the kind of impact for the Namway?
Yeah, so we're working now. We're with the peel that had a good flow yesterday from Gunnedah Creek. It's now going to affect the Namway. Our flood intelligence officers are working with the Bureau with the flood modelling, just to keep an eye on that, and also liaising with the landholders to what they see, just so we're ahead of the game.
Okay, we'll leave that there for the moment. That was live from Gunnedah in the central west of New South Wales, central west and northwest of New South Wales. So that's just to the south of Moree. But talking about that flooding situation in Moree, and we might be able to show you a few pictures of that now. Yeah, pretty dramatic pictures of the extent of the flooding through Moree. And we're just having a chat to someone there in town who was saying, yeah, they've been putting sandbags up along the main business strip through town. He was saying it appears that is probably the worst affected area. And so the latest information from the Weather Bureau is river levels along the Mehi River at Moree expected to peak Thursday morning with major flooding. The current flood event is the highest since the February 2012 flood event. So that main flood peak along the Guida River, passing through Pallamalawa. River levels have peaked upstream at Chinook and now approaching Moree. So yeah, really extensive flooding there through Moree at the moment, the worst flooding in a decade, and so we'll be across that through the day here on the ABC News Channel.